From then on, countless girls with white silk stockings and 36E breasts sought him out to cultivate and improve their favorability. A man who didn't want to become an awakened one was threatened by a 36E girl. He had no choice but to embark on the path of merging with a goddess, and from then on, he would never lack girls to help him change his destiny. At this moment, an alluring maid stood outside the door, specifically asking for the male protagonist. This beautiful and sexy girl was the young miss of the wealthy district, a woman with a curvaceous figure. The self-absorbed male protagonist kept fantasizing about the woman asking him to stay and become her man. One of the male protagonist's actions successfully brought their hormones to a peak. The woman suddenly blurted out, "If you can get in, I'll give you myself." The woman's coquettishness causes the male protagonist to constantly fantasize about what the woman said, offering up her great treasure. But his awakening value is still lower than the last digit of hers. However, for his beloved 36 girl, the male protagonist doesn't hesitate to take awakening drugs to increase his awakening value. Can you hold on to such a big conscience? As a telekinetic awakener, the 36 conscience inherited the family's talent for sharing. From then on, whatever the two of them did would always have a reaction. The male protagonist was so focused on looking at that big conscience that he didn't hear a single word the girl said. He initially wanted to enjoy the process of the girl playing cards, but he didn't expect it to be over so quickly. After living for 20 years, today I finally feel like a bamboo shoot emerging from the ground, my body instantly revitalized. The mature woman maid and young girl strike seductive poses, asking the male protagonist to return to the manor, help her bathe, and teach her how to use enhanced positions. Hearing this, the male protagonist couldn't help but drool. The innocent girl, who has just been exposed to the adult nightlife, shyly punches him, sending him flying. The beautiful 36 girl is teased by a man with a toothy grin. The strange man uses his tricks to lift the girl's skirt. The clumsy green-haired man accidentally gives an international friendly gesture. The kind-hearted girl, with a testing wrist, breaks the monster farming record. Even a maid is so incredibly powerful. When it's the male lead's turn, the three idiots in the audience look down on his status. Another instructor, also from the poor district, couldn't help but slap him back. It's because he, called Little Black, activated the monster leveling system. She is the maid who taught the male lead to use body enhancements. Naturally, he, the male lead, is different from others. He uses a pig as a mount. After gaining his wife talent sharing, the male lead's awakening value instantly jumped from single digits to 64, and his best skill is the joke, grants, and cutting. The vicious demon beast is no match for the male lead's scissors. At the same time, the 36 girl started to develop an interest in him. But after the results came out, the male lead's potential value started rapidly decreasing. Still just a simple little sister, she made a mistake when using the shared ability and shared potential value, causing a decrease in the numbers. The maid girl found the male lead with the school uniform, and he was surprised, thinking there was no hope left for him. The two of them entered class together and received a helper robot. There were even flying pigs in the academy, serving as mounts for the students. With an elemental awakening value of 60, the male lead tamed his first pig-headed mount. The male lead here is a wild boar with a large male organ. Just as the situation looks bad, the maid girl falls from the sky. The maid's arrival causes the male lead's enhanced area to be able to release. In the end, the maid successfully lands under the male lead's enhanced area. While others ride pigs, the male lead is handling the maid. If a 36F older sister is giving you a lesson, would you still sleep during class? The maid, with her hips raised, is handled by the male lead. Such a wealthy school, yet eating here feels like a battle. But for the male lead, who comes from a family of foodies, it's a piece of cake. The male lead subdued all these crazed people with a few skillful moves. Afterwards, the two fed each other and showed their affection. This 36F-breasted, captivating beauty is a teacher of the theory of strange beasts. Faced with such a beautiful woman, the male lead could even fall asleep in class. The 36F-breasted young woman shyly told the male lead that their newly signed talent-sharing agreement was unstable. She then proactively invited the male lead to spend the night with her at her ex-boyfriend's exclusive hotel. Only a wealthy benefactor could casually take out $5 million. This luxurious double bed worth a fabled $5 million is so beautiful. Late at night, the little Lolita is restless, touching and feeling the male protagonist. Just how many times does he have to invest before he can finally sleep with the little Lolita in his arms? Suddenly a man's voice reaches the male protagonist's ears. The male protagonist hurriedly opens the lab door and sees the man who framed him. When the male protagonist wakes up, he realizes he's been tricked and framed. The male protagonist gains multiple skills, including X-ray vision. Even the domineering and cool older women can't escape his eyes. The jealous maid, who also cultivates with the male protagonist and the little Lolita, endures the night alone. The male lead, having discovered his own perverted talent, seriously considers how to utilize it. The little girl uses her powerful psychic abilities to help the male lead escape. Under the little girl's powerful psychic abilities, everyone is controlled and returned to their rooms. During late-night exercises with the male lead, the little girl discovers he possesses 3 awakened abilities. Dual-attribute individuals are few and far between in the Ho-Ho Alliance. Much less an omni-awakened individual, a man possessing all abilities. Knowing he possesses the ability of clairvoyance, the male lead starts scheming. The male lead and the little girl's late-night training completely ignores the maid's feelings, leading the maid to also desire awakening her own talent. After a night of enjoying the maid, the male lead arrives at the High Sox Domineering Beauties class the next day. Those in class must take an exam. Failure means demotion. Happily opening the exam paper, the male lead is dumbfounded by the questions. The beautiful teacher's attention makes his hands tremble uncontrollably. The shocked male lead suddenly develops the ability to see through things, witnessing a bonus. This ability isn't just ordinary, it's multifaceted vision with penetration. Suddenly he raises his head and sees the domineering teacher witnessing a spectacular scene. Thus the male lead uses his X-ray vision to see all the answers. The domineering, elegant woman felt a wave of comfort surge through her body after just one glance at the male lead. How beautiful is this woman? Not only does she have a stunning figure, but also a pair of beautiful long legs. The man, relying on the power behind him, overpowered his beautiful mother-in-law and arranged a marriage between the little girl and the young noble. And with his X-ray vision, he scored full marks. Next, the maid began preparing the potion. Truly a genius, she got a score of 666 on her first try. The arrogant male lead paid no attention to the potion-making class in front of him, but the next second it exploded in failure. Undeterred, he took out his family's secret recipe and started making the potion. The potion created with the secret formula turned out to be blood blue in color. The idiot behind him kept mocking the main character, calling his concoction rubbish. The main character, holding the prepared potion, poured it into the toad's mouth. The frog, which had been barely alive a moment ago, transformed in a fierce toad in the next second. The disbelieving idiot man snatched the animal potion and poured it into his own mouth. After drinking the potion, the man's body stiffened, and he gathered his strength, ready to burst forth like a flood. Sikao was truly unstoppable, releasing toxins while running. The white-haired handsome man on the side said that untested, semi-finished potions could have very strong side effects. Such a powerful potion also earned the main character the title of the Hoa-Tu of the living world. The young wife, deeply impressed, said, "Cookxiao, I didn't expect you to have a talent for making potions, and you can even match Professor Zimian's potions." Then the Academy's level alert signal went off. The young wife, along with the male lead, hurried toward the school auditorium. This woman is the mother of the young Loli Ozi. With such an impressive figure, her sudden movement left everyone speechless. Such a young and beautiful woman is actually a high-ranking officer in the military intelligence agency. The male lead, seeing his mother-in-law for the first time, was a bit surprised. No wonder she's a goddess, even her mom is this powerful. The young Loli's mother informed them that the radar was deteriorating and needed to be repaired. The green-headed man, clutching a tissue and feeling weak, had no energy to worry. Lacking courage, they were in total chaos. The young Loli's mother stood up and clapped. The male lead, who was defeated under his mother-in-law's influence, volunteered to repair the radar. Seeing that someone finally stepped up, the confident mother-in-law was delighted. At this moment, in the inner city, no one dared to step forward. The little Loli and the big maid also volunteered to follow the male lead. At this point, the confident mother-in-law noticed the guy who was very close to her daughter. The fool who had tried to sabotage the male lead several times also sneaked into the group. The two of them, just wearing a necklace, made it seem like they were up to something shady. After putting in a lot of effort, the male lead finally finished the task. This was also their first time on a mission. A man disguised as Professor Bay's assistant follows the team to the radar area. The group rides pig mounts and flies out of the city. Because the male protagonist isn't very good at riding, he shares a pig with the little Loli. Upon arriving at the outer city, the group is dispersed to different areas. The male protagonist puts in tremendous effort and finally repairs the radar. As soon as it's fixed, the man who infiltrated the team appears. The unconscious male protagonist mistakes Batwoman for the cute little loli just because he feels a soft touch. Not only does the guy take advantage of others, but he also mistakes the wrong girl. The treacherous Duke recently sacrificed two unlucky individuals. One of them was secretly sacrificed by a man at the peak of his moment, breaking through to level 71 in that wonderful instant. It was also during that girl's sacrifice that Duke awakened the fire element. The protagonist, who is all attributes, did not hold back. He used telekinesis to deflect and send Duke's fireball back. The protagonist, now enhanced, attacked with his physical strength. He realized that the protagonist had also awakened dual elements, and discovered why the previous sacrifices had no effect. Helpless, he had no choice but to take out a brand new enhancement potion. In the end, the protagonist still fell under Duke's berserk state. At that moment, Duke's heart suddenly ruptured. This was because the male lead used telekinesis to drive 5 acupuncture needles into his body. Before the man died, he couldn't believe that the seemingly useless person before him was actually a triple system wielder. Before his death, he revealed that the person behind it was Professor By Mine. Who's this K then? Enjoying the incredibly soft pillow, he mumbled, "This soft feeling, did I go straight to heaven after death?" In his mind, he saw the little girl calling out, "Xing Sao Geej, you seem injured. Come to my embrace." Sleepwalking, the male lead mistook her for his little wife and mumbled in his sleep. The awakened male lead discovered that he was lying in the Batgirl's arms. The male lead said, "Skin as smooth as cream, crimson eyes, I rely. This guy wouldn't be a zombie, would she? Because the woman gave him her first blood, she insists he belongs to her. If you fell into the hands of a vampire woman, would you run?" Xiachi only drank a mouthful of the woman's blood, and she wants him to be hers. In a previous class, the teacher explained that outside Jiching, there exists a king of highly intelligent beasts. Moreover, they possess various territories, and the military has divided them into 7 dangerous zones. Xia wanted to escape but was caught by the vampire queen. The enraged queen, seeing that he was hungry, personally hunted a beast for him. Having lived in the dangerous restricted zone for years, the queen had never tasted such delicious food. Xiachi placed the skewers he had prepared near the queen's mouth. The queen instinctively opened her mouth, eager to taste the delicious skewers. But before she could take a bite, the lower-level zombies lunged forward, trying to snatch it away. At this moment, Xiatoi also witnessed the regenerative power of the zombies firsthand. Once she ate the tasty food, the queen was conquered by the male protagonist. Afraid that Xiatui might break through, the queen locked him up with iron chains. The male protagonist, tethered like a dog, seemed to overhear a conversation among several zombies in the distance. The reason the male protagonist was kept alive turned out to be that the queen had once been human as well. The leaders of the zombie clan gathered and said that the queen's idea was too foolish. "We zombies are far superior to humans." They also said that humans will never be as powerful as the mighty zombie clan. This large figure said, "Don't forget, tomorrow is a special day, and it will be our only opportunity to strike against the queen." Their entire plan was overheard by Xiachui. The male lead realized it was because he had drunk the queen's blood that he had become fluent in zombie language. As long as he possesses the zombie clan's powerful regenerative ability, the male lead will experience immense pleasure. Having become the queen's man, Xiachui lay on the dog bed mat prepared by the queen. No matter how close he got, Xiachui could not escape the fate of being tied to a dog chain. His lower body also returned to a human form. At this time, 2 class of demonic beasts appeared. The heteromorphic beasts, now that she's become the human queen, no longer obey her. To protect the queen, the male protagonist stepped forward, saying that anyone who wants to harm her must go through him first. The heteromorphic beasts nearby no longer concealed themselves, they forcibly absorbed other beasts to strengthen themselves. What's it like to elope with a 36-busty queen? The queen, with her mature personality, used her last bit of strength to create a protective barrier for the male protagonist. The queen, already exhausted, expended her remaining energy protecting the male protagonist while the class of beasts, strengthened by absorbing others, attacked her. Having reverted to her human form, Queen Ji's power is completely depleted, yet she somehow reaches the three giant beasts. No matter how she evades, she cannot avoid the three giant beasts' strongest attack. The beasts release miasma to paralyze the queen's body. It's no use, the queen collapses to the ground, and the protective barrier around the male lead disappears. The male lead uses his body to block the three-class beast's fatal blow and is pierced through. The male lead, on the verge of death, lies in the queen's arms. This is because the male lead's body possesses a 100% chance to take the blow for the queen. But the male lead, possessing the queen's blood, is rapidly repairing his wounds, and his awakening level was raised again, even exceeding 770. Reawakened, he activated limb enhancement, hammering the strange beasts. The clever male lead prioritized escape, carrying the queen. The queen, unused to being carried princess style, felt somewhat shy. This time, the male lead applied the Nine Thoughts technique to his feet to increase speed. His enhanced legs, like those of a flying hare, left the officials far behind. Seeing that they couldn't shake off the strange beast's pursuit, the queen activated a hidden teleportation array. Embracing each other, the two entered the teleportation array and were sent to a secret realm. And this is the Gene Evolution Cave, where the exclusive evolution cores of past zombie kings are collected. The queen used the Corpse King's bloodline to open a genetic evolution window, a place where she could undergo a second evolution. This man was forcibly pulled into the queen's evolutionary sequence. Minutes later, he transformed from a young man into a gaunt skeleton. Having absorbed the man, the queen completed her second evolution, transforming into a self-styled, elegant, and powerful woman. Evading three giant beasts, the queen recovered her strength in the Gene Cave. If the man wants to survive, he must help the queen evolve. They discovered the array containing the evolution core, and the mystery of why even the powerful Corpse King failed to evolve. Then a guardian beast engulfed in green flames appeared. Using his X-ray vision, the man discovered the evolution core, but it was inside the beast's stomach. No wonder she's the queen of 36E. Even such a powerful spirit beast is subdued by her alone. No matter how the queen fights, the spirit beast can always reorganize. The key is removing the core of evolution. At this moment, the male protagonist remembers it. Although it's massive, its body structure is consistent with that of a feline. Thinking of his sister-in-law's idea, the male protagonist calls out, "Queen, take a break. Let me show who's boss." Reluctantly, the queen takes out her side business of 7 years and starts massaging the spirit beast. While it's enjoying the massage, he kicks the evolution core out of its mouth. The male protagonist places the evolution core into the compass, and the runes inside the compass begin to move. These ancient runes turn out to be from the Teiji Bagua. The Teiji Bagua is a formation formed by the interaction of yin and yang. When two energies merge, it creates endless energy. After evolving the formation, the male protagonist was unexpectedly sucked into it. As a result, the queen would treat the male protagonist as yang to absorb and devour him. The queen stayed close to the male protagonist, showing a mischievous smile. The two were surrounded by an energy aura as they played cards. After the queen's baptism of the male protagonist, he finally broke free from his shell. After an indecent evolution process, the queen completed her second evolution, transforming into a self-assured, mature queen with an elegant demeanor. The mature queen used teleportation to escape the genetic ruins, taking the male protagonist, who was clinging to her, along. The A-level zombie, who thought the queen was dead, declared himself the leader of the zombie clan. Little did he know, just after speaking, the queen returned to the 7th headquarters with the male lead. After witnessing the power of the super-strong zombie, the zombie immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. The evolved queen was not only more beautiful, but also even more ruthless. After eliminating the 3 villains of the 7th, she immediately promoted the male lead to the withering governor. The infinitely regenerating zombies were instantly killed in front of divine power. He became the governor of the 7th after a game of poker. Looking back, he realized that he had already been away from the academy for a full week. Having taken advantage of the queen, he prepared to make a quick getaway. He was gambling on turning his bicycle into a motorcycle. The male lead resorted to deception and trickery, then went back to the military to become an undercover agent. Hearing the queen's agreement, the male lead was overjoyed. "You're letting me go. You truly are the most beautiful and powerful queen in the world." The male lead had just started running when the queen said he wouldn't live past a year. Hearing this, he was completely dumbfounded. When had he been poisoned? He hadn't been exposed to anything. The queen allowed the male lead to return to the human base, but he had to come back on August 24th of the following year to continue contributing his Yankai masculine energy. The male lead, whose youth had just begun, was now about to fall victim to a one-night stand. The little loli, gifted with the hero's contribution talent, wasn't the least bit flustered. Just as everyone was grieving, the male lead suddenly burst through the door. In a short time, the male lead conquered the beautiful 36 girl using his exceptional skills. And during his disappearance, he also took the beautiful zombie queen's first blood. The male lead greeted everyone, holding up his own black selfie frame. Seeing the two little lolas, the male lead realized he still found the queen more appealing. Before they could get intimate, the military police arrived to arrest the male lead. Several strong men carried the male lead and ran outside. The little loli, who had been holding back for a long time, wanted to vent but was interrupted. Upon discovering that the male lead was still alive, the academy hurriedly dismantled the memorial service. The male lead informed the military about the white sleep assistant's betrayal. The male lead performed a series of moves for the four-eyed guy, alternating between left whip kicks and left straight punches. In his mind, he kept debating whether he should tell the military about encountering the zombie queen and taking her first blood. However, after much thought, the male lead decided to reveal the secret of his awakening 3 abilities to him. The man, upon hearing this, was almost frightened into psychological trauma. The school administration, upon receiving the news, became frantic, changing their expressions faster than flipping a book from holding a memorial service 1 second to an awards ceremony the next. In less than 3 seconds, it changed from a black and white photo frame to a color photograph, and announced by the sexy mother-in-law. With this news, the male lead instantly won the favor of both mother and daughter. Following that, the male lead, swaggering with a charming gait, walked onto the stage. Such a once-in-a-century triple system awakener alarmed the entire military, including the chief of staff. The male lead began fantasizing about a little girl in a white miniskirt appearing to offer her blessings. Through the male lead's performance, his mother-in-law also came to accept him and intended to compete with her daughter. The beautiful older sister, to research the secrets of the triple system male lead, went to his room late at night to tutor him. Although the male lead lost his first blood to the zombie queen, upon his return he still became a role model for the academy. He wanted to use the 3-day holiday to show his newly awakened powerful abilities to the little girl. Who would have thought the little girl actually wanted to go home to visit, and the great maid beside him was incredibly clingy. She proactively volunteered to experience the male lead's power in place of the little girl. Unable to showcase his abilities, he returned to District 7, the slums. The news of him becoming a triple awakened being spread throughout the slums overnight. Having not exerted himself this much in a long time, the male lead's body was worn out, his hands trembling as he held things. When the door closed, it turned out that this person was the most powerful cool female teacher at the male protagonist's academy. The woman, wanting to study the reason behind the male protagonist's triple awakening, used the excuse of a late-night extra lesson to find him. The cool teacher immediately began explaining a method for using the 5 elements awakening for those with a 9th level ability. What kind of person can fall asleep even in front of such a beautiful teacher? While the male protagonist was asleep, the cool teacher had a wicked thought to have a 3-element child with him. Fearing that his body in theory might not be up to it, the teacher decided to give him a hands-on demonstration. But little did she know, the beautiful teacher triggered a hidden mechanism in the process. The teacher gave the male lead a heavy blow with those great 2 pounds. In this secret room, there is a shiny golden treasure chest. At this moment, the male lead takes out his 7-year expertise in lock-picking. After opening the chest, he finds a photo and a letter inside. The emblem on the envelope is the emblem of the assassination family. After reading the letter, the male lead learns that he possesses the supreme bloodline. This bloodline is even more powerful than the 2nd stage evolution of the zombie queen. The beautiful teacher says, this guy actually has the supreme bloodline. Could the second stage evolution of this Beast King be even more powerful? Although the great older sister teacher agrees to keep his bloodline a secret, she requires him to fulfill 3 of her wishes. The first one might involve having 3 children. The obsessed older sister teacher who created 3 attribute babies for the male lead gives him tutoring every day. How does the male lead, who created 3 attribute babies with the stiff-necked girl, manage to endure tutoring with his older sister teacher? This red-haired young man is a young man who uses money to capture countless girls. It's because he has a rich dad. The pants he wears are globally limited edition, costing $15 million each. He's not an awakener, but he got in here through connections for his 7 marriage partners. Having read about countless girls, he fell head over heels at first sight, simply because he had never read about a Box 9 girl before. The sleazy man seems not to have noticed the growing killing intent behind him. The older sister teacher who created 7 3-attribute babies is obsessed with tutoring him, even calling him for extra tutoring after class. In the 7th lesson, the male lead abandons the little girl and the mature female teacher, going to a private place. The alluring mature woman tells the male lead about her plan for a private rest, then tells him to lie down immediately for practical training. The 2 girls, returning to the dorm alone, see a sky full of flower petals outside. It's true that in a world of wealth, you can use fighter jets to confess your love anytime, anywhere. The red-haired man makes a grand entrance with a rose, causing the girls around to scream. He even uses 7 rockets, each worth $10 million for added excitement. Faced with a $99.9 million diamond ring, the little girl rejects the man without looking back. At this moment, the male lead arrives in time, grabs the man Li Biao, and tells him to stop bothering Sink. But he arrogantly used his noble background to insult the male lead, who came from the slums, and said he was an orphan. The angry male lead was about to physically beat up Li Biao, but was stopped by the little loli. Lin Zuoxin, risking being locked in the family's small dark room, was determined to kill Li Biao. Li Biao, her fiancé, was stunned as if struck by lightning. From time to time, he would boast to the little loli about how impressive he was. The male lead, who heard the little loli's inner thoughts for the first time, was overjoyed. And from that day on, Li Biao and the male lead became enemies. No matter how powerful his family or abilities were, he could never casually kill a rare triple awakening genius. After the queen's training, the male lead is no longer the same. The little Lolita is exhausted from trying to raise his awakening value. The dedicated maid, seeing the little Lolita's exhaustion, forcibly joins their combined training. Just as the maid is about to join, several police officers suddenly burst in, shouting, "You're surrounded." Startled, the little Lolita and the maid instinctively hide under the covers. The police immediately produce evidence showing the male lead stayed in Jianghu's territory for 7 days. Knowing the truth, the male lead realizes Li Biao is framing him. The sexy little Lolita experiences what it feels like to be caught as a third party today. Li Biao uses his father's military connections to frame the male lead for collaborating with Jianghu. 1 second he's in bed, cultivating with his beloved girl. The next, he's in prison wearing 7 collars. Using his X-ray vision, the male protagonist examines his surroundings and discovers that this is a prison specifically for awakened beings. Reading his prison handbook, the male protagonist is furious. Not only is he imprisoned, but he also has to work, his labor being exploited. All the food here is this biofluid meal, which extracts the maximum amount of nutrients from the bodies of strange beasts. This incredibly unappetizing food is considered the world's worst. A mandatory process upon entering Blue Prison is being intimidated by the large Kineza. Due to the collar's restrictions, awakened beings can only use 10% of their abilities. Although he can't use his full abilities, he possesses supreme bloodline and the queen's first drop of blood. The reckless trio attacked the male protagonist. Their attack was instantly repelled by his enhanced physical defense and the queen beast's blood counterattack. The spirited young man, seen as the big brother, was actually a beautiful young woman. Although she was wearing restrictive clothing, she couldn't hide from the male protagonist's ability to see through disguises. The exposed girl was somewhat embarrassed. The 2 simpletons naively believed that the young man couldn't possibly be a woman. To establish himself in prison, the male protagonist challenged the trio to a contest of masculinity, with a 10% chance of winning. Unaware of the male protagonist's incredibly powerful physical enhancements, the men boasted about their prowess. Before the contest even began, everyone was stunned by the seemingly indestructible physical enhancements. The girl doesn't want her subordinates to know she is a woman because it would lower her authority. The male lead is still very confused. After being imprisoned, why is there not a single guard? When the girl tells him that the place is under intelligent surveillance, he is stunned. In this one-way prison where no one can leave, there is no chance of a girl appearing. Everyone locked here has to dig up 100 energy ores every day. Even if you dig 100 energy stones, it's not enough for body enhancement, let alone repair injuries. The smart male lead uses his newly awakened 25% to scan the area. At this moment, the girl walks over and says that if the task isn't completed in the allotted time, the caller will administer punishment. Under the male lead's command, 3 moles act as the vanguard and begin digging. Following the male lead's instructions, the 3 moles keep digging. It wasn't long before Mole 1 dug out a glowing ore. The dazzling ore made the young girl unable to stop, her eyes wide open. With just 25% of the energy, the male protagonist was able to locate underground, gaining the young girl's approval. He worked for half an hour and completed in just half a month. 12. That night, the young girl reluctantly untied her restraints. Just as she took off her coat, revealing a woman's figure, the male protagonist knocked on the door. The male protagonist, who had already figured out the woman's identity, immediately recognized her period issues. In this place full of men, how could a little woman dare to expose her worth? The male lead, a self-proclaimed folk doctor, uses acupuncture to relieve the girl's pain. Those 2 mistresses were eavesdropping outside. After the acupuncture, the girl's pain lessened considerably. Seizing the opportunity, the male lead suggests they escape Awakener prison together. The girl, who has been disguised as a boy for years, finds herself attracted to him. Moreover, the male lead's mastery of 3 elemental abilities and his 9-level abilities also impress her. Even the zombie queen fell to his physical enhancement abilities, not to mention his ability to see through anything. The girl, who has never experienced a racing heart, has her innermost feelings revealed by the male lead. The girl gave the male lead a map of the prison's restricted area. Just as he was about to leave the room, she surprisingly asked him to stay overnight and explore a new life. This caused the already invincible male lead to have to fight desperately even in prison. After a night of desperate fighting, the male lead was woken up by the wake-up call at 5 o'clock. The male lead thought the person visiting him would be his little lowly wife. Instead, it was the idiotic rich second-generation red hair, mocking him for being in prison. He angrily said, "Labiao, you know you're asking a leading question. You clearly used your privileges to arrest me without any investigation." Labiao then took out a marriage contract with Lin Siki's name on it to provoke the male lead. In front of the male lead, who possesses special abilities, even the identification equipment is no match for him. With a blank expression, he managed to deceive the simple-minded Labiao, who thought the male lead was on his 7th day. A nest of snakes and rats, abusing their power's fake signature today was probably to provoke the male lead into escaping. And today, the security system that had never malfunctioned suddenly broke down. The few people who had obtained the prison's map decided to escape quickly. The escape was so smooth that the male lead began to suspect it had been intentionally set up by someone. At that moment, outside the gate, 2 officers stood with laser guns, waiting for them to approach. Taking advantage of their momentary relaxation, the girl used 10% of her airflow to knock the others away. They will be doubly guilty for attempting a breakout, and it will be impossible to clear their names. The girl came up with a great idea, to search for the prison warden who had disappeared in area for months. The warden holds the highest position in the prison. At this point, the male lead also realizes he enjoys using his brain and starts to suspect that his intellectual abilities might be awakening. The cunning virus attacked the white blood cells with a stick-and-stick strategy, and the girl had no way to fight back. In order to clear their names, they had no choice but to head to the Forbidden Zone to search for the warden, who had mysteriously disappeared for 3 months. With the male lead's 10% X-ray vision, they searched through all the tangible objects within the area. They searched for half the island but still couldn't find any trace of the warden. However, the large stone beneath them suddenly came to life. It turned into a giant turtle, crazily whipping the male lead with a vine whip. At this moment, the turtle quickly gathered energy and attacked the male leads. The gathered virus paralysis powder hit the beautiful girl. At this point, in order to protect the girl, the male lead had no choice but to reveal his zombie bloodline. Just then, a thunder-like awakener appeared in mid-air. It was the long-missing prison warden. If the poison wasn't cured quickly, the girl would die. With no other choice, the male lead decided to use Nenju to eliminate the deadly virus in his body. The kind-hearted prison warden removed the collar to release the restrictions, allowing the male lead to fully unleash Nenju. The male lead extended Nenju to 100%, probing for the virus spreading within his body. The rapidly multiplying virus is going crazy under the command of the virus leader. Such a small girl has such powerful immune cells inside her. They are attacked by slime, which causes her to be unable to fight back. The male lead arrives just in time to control the virus with white blood cells, and the girl begins to fight back fiercely under his command. The male lead injects energy into the white blood cells. In an instant they are filled with power. The white blood cells rapidly multiply and begin fighting back fiercely under the male lead's command. With the male lead's enhancement, the immune cells become incredibly strong, and the girl begins to rapidly reclaim territory. The virus begs for mercy, saying, "It was my mistake, please spare me. I will never be a virus again in my next life." The white blood cells go on a rampage, beating the virus relentlessly, and the cries of pain never stop. To thank the male protagonist for his help, the female protagonist gives him the gentlest hug as a token of appreciation. After witnessing the male protagonist's abilities, the prison warden is willing to provide proof, on the condition that he helps treat his illness. How powerful is this man's physical enhancement? At the same time, he is cultivating with two women and gaining the upper hand. Unable to resist, the two women essentially follow the male protagonist's plan to increase their awakening value by embracing him. After several hours of battle, the male protagonist enters the 7 fusion star inheritance space. Having completed 10 fusions with the women, he has reached the beginner level of the 7 fusion star technique. Puzzled, the male protagonist says that if the queen doesn't count, that would be 3, but to be safe, let's say it's 5 humans. Exhausted, the two women fall asleep in bed, while the male protagonist wakes up in the middle of the night to search for his parents' whereabouts and to break the shared death curse. The maid who woke up at the same time suspects that the male lead got up in the middle of the night because there is another woman outside. The woman rides a small pink pig to deliver food to the male lead. Even while riding the small pink pig, he can't forget the 2 fairy-like girls in his room. The male lead, who has the power of mind reading, discovers that the little girl is following him. His first target is Miss Wong from Mansion No. 18 in the wealthy district. To enter the heavily guarded wealthy district, he has to disguise himself as a food delivery guy. Miss Wong, with a body that rivals that of a sexy queen, yells, "Let go of my delivery person." The male lead takes action, knocks down a few of the guards, and delivers the food to her. The little sister, who is smitten by the male lead's handsome looks, says, "I should have asked for his contact info." The maid, seeking the truth, blames herself for doubting the male lead's character and punishes herself for being whipped by him, even going without food. That night, even delivering takeout, the male lead encounters so many sexy girls, including a sexy and alluring catgirl. This woman is the legendary voluptuous and charming beaskin catgirl. Even this powerful beaskin girl couldn't withstand the male lead for long. Humanity, to satisfy its own desires, wantonly slaughters fellow mammals. Hundreds of years ago, humans researched various ways to kill animals, deep frying, braising. As a top-tier beaskin catgirl, she led the beaskin in a counterattack against humanity. In the catgirl field, the beaskin's overall strength increased by 50%. Each wave of beast-tied attacks was incredibly ferocious. Then the lowly girl led the rescue team to support the male protagonist. The orc's massive attack caused the base to collapse, and many people from the slums were also captured. The lowly girl used her awakened talent to defeat the attacking orcs. At this time, an orc cook came up carrying 2 metal cans. Luckily, the young lady's fetal healing talent resisted the attack. The male protagonist used stiffening to counter the catgirl's bloodthirsty rage. The arrogant catgirl, relying on her beautiful appearance, thought the male protagonist wouldn't attack her. Little did he know, the male lead used the Shea family's ultimate technique, the Thunderbolt Heart Stealer. This move shocked the cat-eared girl, leaving her trembling all over. The male lead hurriedly withdrew and asked, "Can't move." Right, it turns out this is the wrestling stance with beast-eared girls. The beast-eared girl escaped from the male lead's grasp using a smoke bomb and even signaled a full retreat. The military, however, did not rescue the people from the slums, instead sending a team to the wealthy district for support. Having grown up in the slums, how could the male lead abandon his family? The male lead asked the 2 girls for their help. The girls entered the room, bowed, and awaited the male lead's orders. The male lead's 3 major concubines, dressed in leather battle armor, rescue the male lead, who has fallen into the hands of a demon beast. At the same time, the male lead, who is cultivating with his 3 wives, uses scent to identify a group of 7 little princesses. The innocent and beautiful little princess falls in love with the male lead, even wanting to bear his 10 children in a year. The demon beast tribe's reproductive ability is incredible. Within a year, they can easily have 10 sets of twins. This test is to identify the true princess by examining rows of long legs. Women intentionally make it difficult for the male lead, using a few beauties dressed in white silk stockings to mix in. However, the leg shapes of these women are similar to that of a princess. Subsequently, using a floral scent, the male lead filters out the others, even eliminating those with hairy legs. In the end, the male lead identifies the 7 people through the princess's scent. The happy princess sits on the male lead, saying, "You are my destined one." The male lead, about to complete his mission, is heading towards the sacred spring when his three wives appear in battle armor. His wives' arrival forces the male lead to lie incessantly. The darkened princess, growing furious, asks, "You stinky monkey, what's the deal with those women?" The jealous demon princess summons her whip to kill the three women. That terrifying princess is back, releasing a killing intent that prevents the women from approaching. The maid and second wife use their long legs to kick away the little demons. The corrupted princess is terrifying, with a threat level equivalent to rank. Just as the battle between the few people was ongoing, the holy spring was stolen by a mysterious person. When the male lead arrived at the back mountain, he discovered that the one who stole the holy spring was the doctor. The nine-tailed fox, who was trying to escape, was caught by the male lead by the tail. Worried about losing the lead, the male lead had no choice but to make contact with the seductive fox demon to gain the memories. Without saying a word, he went straight in for a kiss, leaving the fox demon, who specialized in this, utterly confused. Through physical contact, the male lead obtained the truth about his parents from the nine-tailed fox's mind. The intense kiss even knocked the fox demon unconscious. This made the three sexy wives beside him jealous. The furious maid said she would drain him dry. The first wife said that since the queen had saved Kixiao before, she wouldn't mind too much. The queen grabbed the male lead's mouth and said, "I allow you to have other women, but I am the biggest." After the three wives were jealous, they encountered the seven little princesses' 36th beast mother. The terrifying queen summoned a plant giant to test the male lead. The male lead actually claimed he could restore the drained holy spring, surprising both sexy mothers-in-law. Then came the moment when the two 36th mothers-in-law fought over the male lead. The first wife's mother tries to steal the male lead by offering 50% of the shares and 10 million in living expenses. The powerful Beast King's mother-in-law is even more enticing. Not only can she freely choose orc girls, but she also offers a cat-eared maid as a dowry. Seeing that she cannot compete, the mother-in-law can only cry miserably to move the male lead. The bold male lead, however, wants to have both. He says, "I want to settle for a marriage of convenience. My potential value will surely break 100. I want to become the man with the largest harem." The princess says, "Yeah, I am the one monkey brother loves the most. Once I marry him, I'll push that woman out of her position." The little loli who finally earned her mother's approval is incredibly happy. The national master, who tried to escape, is instantly spotted by the cat-eared maid. The lustful national master is caught by the Beast King and casually arranged to be an undercover agent by the male lead's side. The 5 major countries forming the alliance against the beasts for survival in the apocalypse are Osuan, Hunuo, Lin. The awakening values of the 4 countries' academies are terrifying, with each country being weaker than China. The mature woman with 3060 is infatuated with the male lead's ability to combine and merge energy every night. This is because the male lead possesses triple elemental energy, which allows him to merge and train, increasing his awakening value upon contact. Therefore, the girl from the small island also seeks out the male lead every night for an energy boost. She even gives him a secret hormone-boosting medicine that she has been preserving in a confidential place. As a girl from a small island, she decides to personally experience the male lead's genetic enhancement to improve her own. At this time, the Beast King arranges for a little fox next to the male lead, who transforms into human form, to also experience the sensation of merging and training. The male protagonist, blessed with incredible stamina, single-handedly fought 2 top-tier female fighters in a prolonged battle, gaining the ability of genetic linking. After that night, the girls from the island nation became obsessed with the protagonist's 3 attribute abilities. After training with him, they were transformed. They could kill demonic beasts with a single strike. Conversely, the little Lolita who was left behind last night lacked the necessary power and couldn't fight. The male protagonist then used the genetic linking ability he obtained last night, absorbing the little Lolita into his body. Although their combined power was incredibly strong, he was extremely weak after separating. Due to the Sealing Gate trials, awakeners from both nations were frantically vying for resources. Just as the male protagonist didn't know how to escape, his sexy maid rushed over. Without saying a word, the protagonist begins the gene link, and the clueless little maid is sucked into his body by a powerful force. Successfully absorbing the little maid into his body and merging with her, the protagonist gains a powerful weapon, a luxurious laser cannon. Under the little maid's 10-shot barrage of laser cannons, the opponent is instantly wiped out. Although the power is overwhelming, the side effects are quite apparent. From this, the protagonist also learns that merging with different girls grants different weapons. The woman from the small island, who had never tasted such delicious food, instantly bloomed like a flower. Who would have thought the protagonist and the cool teacher would battle it out for 300 rounds? The the little island girl claims she held back to save her resources. This woman really got the protagonist into a terrible situation. He didn't even expect the cool teacher to have such an appetite. The losing loli is tied up and suspended in the air, awaiting punishment. This incredibly sexy 36th American captain is a lethal girl. Earlier, a sexy older sister fought fiercely to obtain the male lead's essence to create 3-attribute babies. Later, a Japanese girl who cultivated dual cultivation with a male lead used her awakened secret method on herself. And this blonde American captain actually asked everyone to exchange their lifespan for weapons. In the shop, the higher the weapon level, the more lifespan it consumes. This scared the male lead, who was seeing this for the first time, witless. Others use money, but she uses life. In just a few seconds, the weapons in the shop were snatched up by this group of idiots. They actually use their teammates' lifespans to exchange for powerful weapons. A sexy maid finds a blind box at the bottom of the mall that costs 5 years of lifespan. He spent 5 years of his life and only got 2 ice and fire yo-yos. His opponent is the Japanese girl he fought with late at night. The Japanese girl uses the secret technique he learned from their combined cultivation to attack him. Finding the woman's weakness, he charges forward, but the Japanese girl remains motionless. However, his attack passes right through her body. Her large fluid body is a result of the secret she learned from their combined cultivation. Her body is completely liquid. Physical attacks are completely ineffective. He can only defend himself. The promiscuous woman offered him a deal: spend every night with Japanese women to improve his skills, and she would let him go. The man, already conquered by the queen, again received another Japanese woman. During the battle, the man located the 7 women and grabbed their 7 feet. The liquefied women had their 7 feet frozen by the man. This power came from the yo he obtained by sacrificing 5 years of his life. The man unleashed his strongest attack, the ice and fire heaven, with a spinning yo-yo. The frozen Japanese women couldn't escape the crystallization and thus couldn't liquefy. The solid Japanese women were bound by the man using the yo-yo. Even under the protagonist's torture, the woman couldn't help but admit defeat. The protagonist, having advanced, saw the man's luxurious equipment and was dumbfounded. No wonder the woman was beaten so badly. How should the protagonist deal with someone possessing such powerful equipment? 2 sexy Japanese girls waited late into the night to cultivate with the protagonist to obtain his omnipotent genes. The 4 protective 36D harem members actively asserted their dominance, vying for the chance to cultivate with the protagonist. After a whole night of cultivation, the protagonist, exhausted, changed into a bathrobe and prepared to bathe. The 2 Japanese girls, eager for his omnipotent genes, waited, having changed into clothes, hoping to plant their seed. The experienced Japanese girl gave the protagonist a very seductive massage. Meanwhile, the little Lolita in a sexy sleepwear is scrambling. Just as the 2 were enjoying their combined cultivation with the male lead, a woman's voice came from outside. Unfortunately, the main wife and the maid were both wearing sexy clothes to replenish the male lead's energy. Even the twin Lolitas wore beautiful lingerie to cultivate with the male lead. Without hesitation, the 4 rushed towards the male lead, actively declaring their sovereignty and vying for the chance to create an all-powerful child with him. The 2, outnumbered by 4 sexy girls, stubbornly guarded the male lead, the one who would carry on the human race. After several hours of combined cultivation with 6 girls, although he awakened 7 new abilities, he was completely exhausted. The group, after a night of intense effort, were fully recovered the next day and bravely ventured into the ruins. At this moment, the entrance to the alien ruins opens in the sky. No matter how much the twin-tailed loli attacks, it has no effect. Knowing that the protagonist has the ability to combine, the twin sisters voluntarily step forward to help him. Under the protagonist's power, the 2 energetic lolis merge into one. After merging, the 2 become a pair of blue and red wings. Through the flight of the wings, the protagonist touches the entrance to the alien ruins. In the end, the protagonist successfully enters the ruins, while the 2 girls are separated and bounced back. The protagonist, after acquiring the technique for second stage evolution, returns to rescue his wives. All of this started with a mysterious person named K, who used a secret technique to help the male protagonist obtain the method for a second evolution. The 5 countries took the initiative to act, hoping to capture K, but Ki turned out to be just a projection. As a result, several girls scrambled to have the protagonist cultivate and preserve the human race's flame. The elf girls rely on absorbing low-level male elves to replenish their energy, but the protagonist was drained once and somehow remained alive and well. To prove the charm of men, the protagonist used his emperor's golden finger to make the girls submit. After several heroic rescues, the girl's fondness for the protagonist grew, and one even openly acknowledged him as her dog. Gradually, they discovered the entrance to the blood-colored demon realm, which was sealed by a powerful demon barrier of a high level. A seductive demon girl appeared before everyone, with her alluring figure and overwhelming presence crushing everyone in sight. The silver sword that bounced back was defended by the male protagonist. The sexy maid arrived just in time, and the male protagonist informed her about the noble demon girl and the barrier. This time, however, there was a big twist. The one who turned into a weapon was not the maid, but the powerful male protagonist. The sexy maid elf treated the demon to a round of attacks with a huge spiked club. The noble demon, having lived for so long, never expected to be defeated by a giant club. The noble 36 to high-level elf girl, in order to pass through the demon's territory, took off all her clothes and pressed against the male protagonist to avoid the officials. All the high-level elves submitted to the male protagonist's body enhancement, and these two sexy high-level elf girls were still conquered by his power. The male protagonist wanted to obtain the method for second-stage evolution, and only by cultivating with all the high-level elf girls could the task be completed. The male lead, who doesn't want to follow into the demon area, is forcibly dragged in by the 36D little loli. Demons continuously pour out from the area, and the 36D little loli desperately shoots arrows to fend them off. The seductive older sister uses the purification circle to continuously block the demon's attacks. The male lead, forced into action, has no choice but to fight alongside them to gain the women's favor. The male lead hands over the invisibility artifact to the seductive elven girl. Her body becomes completely invisible, but her clothes are still visible. Wearing the artifact allows her to hide her presence, preventing the demons from detecting her. The few seducted elven girls, still wearing their clothes, are being chased by the demons. There was no other choice, so they removed all their clothes to achieve complete invisibility. In this situation, the demon dogs could not detect anyone's scent. All the elf girls tightly clung to the male protagonist and continued to climb up. After these girls had intimate contact with the male protagonist, one of them rode a dragon to rescue him. The high-ranking elves set up a domain centered around pregnancy therapy in the sky to prepare for battle against the demon army. Due to the loss of the invisibility effect, the male protagonist saw the appearances of several elves, which led to him being thrown out. These two sexy high-ranking elves were looking at the women-trained advanced servants. Their tastes were too extreme, leading to all their close servants being killed. The malicious duo planned to capture the male protagonist tonight. The two sexy elves, who are extracting the male protagonist's remaining energy through care, bring holy water to replenish his strength. The legendary holy water is made by extracting the blood of male elves. Unable to remove the male protagonist's enhanced limbs, the two of them take the initiative to restrict his movement. The male protagonist, whose abilities far exceed theirs, uses the lightning sword to attack their bodies. The two sexy elves struck by the attack are paralyzed by the electric shock. The two girls are being drained by the male protagonist, continuously making holy water. During the extraction of the holy water, the male protagonist obtains fragments of the second evolution from the two of them. Just as the male protagonist is about to have fun with the two girls, a mid-level girl bursts in, saying that the eldest wife is acting strange and asks him to come over. Such a sexy and proud elf girl actually likes being spanked to increase her affection. The elf girl, after a slap from the male lead, instantly became docile and obedient, because the male lead possesses the ability to increase pleasure levels. The maid, having tasted the sweetness, was conquered and started dancing. The male lead, who was just training the other two elves, was called to his main wife's room to be checked for injuries. Due to the injury, the woman was extremely angry. It was impossible for the two saintesses to be injured. The woman strongly resisted treatment. The male lead noticed her erratic breathing and sweating. Behind her, the male lead happily ran to the elf queen, continuing to act like a dog. The powerless sexy queen asked the male lead for the latest spirit replenishing method to feed her. When a woman is about to start a world of two, a guardian elf bursts in, shouting that the demon has invaded. One moment, she's a cute little one in a dominatrix outfit, and the next moment, she's thrown into the tiger's den. A woman's words can be as deadly as a ghost. The magic realm, which has been invaded for years, is home to one of the largest demons, the blue whale. Every night it invades the sacred sky domain. Several high-level elf girls, including Juju, launched an attack on the blue whale. The male protagonist, lying in wait, caught the falling sexy maid with one hand. A high-level healing elf used the elf shield of light, the ninth light barrier, to defend against the attacks. The male protagonist took the place of the dominatrix and commanded all the wind attribute elf girls to follow his orders. Under the wind attribute attack, the male protagonist unleashed the ninth lightning strike. The fusion of their energies revealed the trajectory of the high-frequency sound wave attack. The male lead, able to see the trajectory clearly, easily dodged the attack. As the male lead sang, all the female spirits instantly became excited. The powerful singing voice neutralized the blue whale's high-frequency sound waves. The maid was completely conquered by the omnipotent male lead. As the song played, the women began to dance, wanting to merge with him in training. After successfully capturing the maid saint, the male lead hurried back to the female archer's room. Upon returning to the room, the male lead noticed that the woman's happiness level had dropped to negative. The woman even dared to insult the male lead, calling him a lowly servant. Furious, the male lead immediately approached her. But instead of getting angry, she actually enjoyed the thrill. After that slap, the woman's pleasure level successfully reached 780. The male lead decided to use his ancestral golden finger technique to get some fragments. The proud elf girl, spoiled since childhood, experienced such unreasonable treatment for the first time, yet she thoroughly enjoyed it. The male lead raised the archer girl's pleasure level to 700, but no fragments dropped. In this world dominated by elf girls, men only serve as energy supplements. However, due to the male lead's arrival from another world, with his powerful physical enhancement and abilities, he conquered the 3060 elf queen. The guardian elf, with the appearance of a little lowly, had her seal broken by the male lead's big treasure, transforming into a seductive black-haired witch. After completing the early mission, the male protagonist did not receive the fragments gifted by the system, but instead obtained a brand new skill. This is because on the surface, she possesses the appearance of a high-level elf, but in reality, she's a powerful demon. This seductive little lowly is a product of the intermingling of the demon and elf races. From the moment of her birth, she has had a dual personality. The reason for her full awakening lies entirely in the male protagonist's big treasure, which successfully roused her. Even among the demons on the sacred tree, there are mixed blood demons involved in the process. The alluring and seductive her wants to trick the male protagonist into joining the demon race, becoming a vessel exclusively for demons. The high-level mature elf uses the holy light to purify, trying to bind the demon-occupied archer's body. The transformed demon woman easily deflects the woman's attack. Fortunately, the queen acted quickly to suppress the evil demon woman, because the woman had used the queen's personal belongings without permission, which made the queen angry. The powerful half-demon unexpectedly chose to break free from the big elf, also known as the purification spirit. The louder the male lead shouted, the more excited the two sexy high elves became. After enduring the punishment from the two elves, the male lead gained a new skill, bloodline transformation. The high elf extracted a large amount of exorcising holy water from the male lead, and within a day, they broke into the demon clan's main hall. The male lead, leading the elf girls, fought countless demons in the main hall. Due to their powerful reproduction ability, the demons that were killed quickly split again. Thinking of a solution, the male lead pulled the 36 to high elf into the defense. Then he injected his bloodline into the 7 divided demons. The genetically altered demons transformed into cute little zombies. The male lead, leading the little zombies, defeated countless demons. The sexy, mature elf queen fell for the male lead's powerful bloodline transformation again. Even the girl who was conquered by the magic staff was still reminiscing. Two sexy high-ranking witches easily controlled the 36 to high-ranking elf with the male lead's assistance. It was simply because the two alluring witches were underlings of the sexy, mature demon queen. After the fierce battle, the two high-ranking elves were thinking about the male lead's unlimited power source. The two elves, seeking to replenish their energy by experiencing the male lead's essence, encountered a newly appeared seductive witch. Their strength far surpasses that of other high-level witches, for they are the 9 generals and 7 role envoys of the Demon King. Fearing the power source would run out, the elf elder sister tied up the male lead and left him aside. The elder sister, also a legendary elf, was suppressed by the witch's 9 locks of the world, a chain that seals all things. Meanwhile, the 36-sized elf was fiercely battling the white, seductive witch. Even while fighting, the two didn't forget to battle with the male lead to replenish their energy. The two elf girls embraced the male lead and proceeded with their actions. After several minutes of draining him, the two elf girls were fully resurrected. The strength of the two, empowered by the domination gear, suddenly surged, surprising the two great witches. The 7 royal demons of the Star Demon King used a blood curse formation to deal with them, who had portable power banks. The two high-ranking elves entering the blood curse formation were instantly drained of energy. As their energy was drained, the mature, elegant elf lost the domination gear's boost. The noble, mature elf without the male protagonist's help was easily subdued by the witch. The 36-demade elf girl was even more suppressed, unable to escape. The sexy white witch threw a split witch's hand at the woman. The sexy elf maid was bound by the witch's hand, continuously having her energy drained. After the two elf girls are defeated, the seductive witch slowly approaches. The two defeated high-ranking elf girls can only let the male lead be taken into the witch's embrace. The curious witch approaches the male lead and gently bites him. Hot blood flows into his body, his soul trembles, and his emotions calm down. The absorption by the two seductive witches gives the male lead fragments for a second evolution. Afterwards, the male lead is brought before the demon queen by the witch, and this queen is the Jiang Jin queen who maintains the balance of the world. The kneeling male lead's status instantly rises several levels. The greedy, seductive witch forcibly takes the male lead as her ultimate furnace, experiencing a power-up. The seductive sorceress, desperate to possess the male protagonist's sacred body, shows no sign of stopping. Witnessing the seductive queen, the men readily submit and flatter the demon lord. Two seductive high-ranking elf girls are thrown into the 7th dungeon by the male protagonist to endure whipping torture. Under the lash of the demonic whip, the two elf girls cry out in pain. The male protagonist, of great use, is taken to a room by two sorceresses to replenish the other sorceress's energy. These two seductive sorceress sisters are the male protagonist's twin sisters from another world. Compared to their original world selves, the sisters are now much larger. Say did the sisters fall asleep. Late at night, the male protagonist uses his telekinesis to investigate the surrounding rooms and buildings. He even discovered a mysterious secret chamber, and he used his magic to forcefully move it aside. Inside the chamber stood a magnificent bronze statue. What he couldn't understand was why there would be something of the elves in the demon's territory. The statue depicts the elves' creation myth. Witches and elves originally lived together in harmony. This peaceful coexistence was shattered by a calamity known as the Heavenly Disaster. In this crisis, the only elf who possessed the Battle 9 magic stepped forward and saved both races. This person was the protagonist's seductive mother-in-law from his original world, also a greedy witch from this other world. The seductive mother-in-law was infatuated with the protagonist's magic and wanted him to work overtime. The reasonable and greedy witch agreed to the male protagonist's request. The greedy witch instantly moved the male protagonist out of the castle. The two seductive dark familiars who arrived discovered that 2/3 of the cleared land had already been polluted. After the male protagonist explained the pollution caused by the land of the elf tribe, the greedy witch had no idea about the pollution. Among the 7 witches, only she could stop its spread. When the intruding object interrupted her and the male protagonist's gathering container, the witch became very angry and froze it. Showing off her charms, the male protagonist once again caught the greedy witch's excited attention, and she constantly wanted to devour him. Back in his room, the male protagonist was so focused on studying the crystal that he didn't notice the seductive witch lying there. The seasoned witch revealed her seductive elephant-like legs that made it hard for anyone to walk. The greedy witch continued to tease the male protagonist with her seductive nylon-clad feet. This telepathy was actually connected to the first wife from another world. The sexy maid was skeptical that the young lady could see the male protagonist, who was far away in another world. The two of them communicated through telepathy about things happening in this world. With only a 60% favorability, the greedy witch was eager to replenish her magical energy, despite the male protagonist's 80% favorability. At this moment, the male protagonist was stirred by the temptation of the nylon stockings. A seductive high-level elf, taking advantage of the weakening barrier, sneaked inside. A high-level elf girl used her X-ray vision to observe the entire demon race. Unlucky for her, she saw the male lead and the greedy witch exchanging magical energy. The The greedy witch, never before conquered, was subdued by the male lead today, her inner magic surging. After being drained, the male lead stretched and prepared to leave. At this moment, the black and white girl suddenly appeared, saying the demon queen was dead. The incredibly sexy elf queen had died in her room overnight. It was because the 3060 elf queen, in pursuit of continuing her lineage, was constantly exploring secrets beyond the planet. Attempting to reach the heavens, the elf queen was struck by a powerful energy. The massive thunder and fire barrier sealed off the entire sky, and even the seductive elf queen died at his hands. At this moment, the male protagonist learned that the reason the queen couldn't break through the sky was that the entire planet was locked down by a powerful force. By now, the elf army had already attacked the demon's gates. The massacre between the two races allowed the dark forces to take advantage of the situation. The seductive elves outside the castle shouted, demanding that the demons hand over their spirit-replenishing cauldrons. The greedy sorceress, empowered by the male protagonist's magic, led all the demons in an attack. The sorceress, using her incantations, summoned the dark, fallen, decaying bodies. The high-ranking elf beauty easily erased them with her purification magic. Just then, the male lead appeared in time and punched in with a thunder fist. The male lead's appearance touched the high-level elf beauty's heart. Because of his intervention, the demons thought he had betrayed them, and the powerful maid was about to use her high-level Ziwa power. At this time, the male lead grabbed the holy staff and called a halt to the battle. The alluring witch instantly understood the meaning of the male lead's actions, to call a ceasefire. The two sexy women were resolute and determined, silencing the male lead. The holy healer pushed the male lead away and launched a high-level spell attack on the demons. With no other choice, the male lead blocked the two powerful energy attacks. The two energy waves were indeed a bit difficult to withstand. The powerful energy actually broke through the super energy radiation that sealed the sky.